Hi guys, Rhonda with That and H here with you. Okay, so this is video number 3 and we are starting on the pages for this kitchen retro kitchen, recipe, journal, whatever you want to call it. I showed you these pages that I had completed, and since we were together, I have gone ahead, and I will show you this as well. I've worked ahead a little bit simply because these take so long, and I don't want this to be a bazillion videos process. So when I showed you this last, this was a separate page and this was blank, and these two were done, but they weren't stitched together. And so since you and I talked, I have done this. I've created a little pocket here and stitched around some recipe. These are chocolate chip treasure cookies. I haven't tried it. I have no idea, but the picture looks great. And you flip it up and you've got journaling spots here, and here is a recipe, and actually these are delicious because this is from my mother's cookbook. I have decided that I am going to use some of my mom's recipes, and I have her cookbook. I'm honored to be able to have that since she passed. And this is a copy, of course, but she had all kinds of different colors of papers, and her book is just a kind of a conglomeration of sorts. Well, actually, let me show you my mother's cookbook. It was well used, well loved, and she just had a lot of. She hand typed a lot of things. She copied a lot of things. She wrote some. I mean, this is in her writing, and she printed this out. And this is something she had typed, and this is what I have copied. So I'm going to include some of those. They're very dear and precious to me. And I have made a copy of this for my siblings, so everybody has. I have the original, but everybody's got a copy of that. So, okay, so here's a little bit of writing here. We've got some embellishments. I started with a handkerchief here and then built on that. We've got another handkerchief underneath, and we've got some laces that we added, and a fun image, the retro, and lace, double layer, and stitching, and more stitching, and this is the top of the handkerchief, and this is vintage right here. So this is, I love it. So I'm finished with this double page. So you've got 4 pages here that are finished now, and I had showed you this. Now, what I have done, I've decided to make this so I think it will be easier for you to kind of follow along and do your own sort of thing with it, to make it a little bit more traditional out of, you know, the regular papers that we use. I want to keep this so that a person can put copies of recipes. You can write recipes. You can journal in it if you don't want to, keep track of the recipes and such. So I have used a combination of coffee dyed papers. This is legal size, because my sandwich bags, this is what they are. I bought these several years ago, and they measure, well, I use 7.5 inches of this. I trim the top down, and these have a gusset but they're just a little over 6 1/4, maybe 6 3/8. And so you've got a little gusset on either side here. And I'll show you what I do with these bags to make them usable. There's a few different things that I do that I want to show you. So you have options, okay? And I'm going to see if I can find a supplier of these. And if I can, I will put these in my Etsy store. And you can purchase these bags if you would like from me. They, you know, they've got a nice little crinkle going on here. All right, so let's see where to start. I think what we'll do is, let's talk about the bags first. So these measure approximately 7 1/2 or closer to 8 inches, maybe 8 inches by technically 6 1/2 inches. The bag itself with the gusset. Okay, so this is how the bag comes. You have the front and the back, you know, it has those things that from folding it up. Now, when I use them, look at the difference. I iron mine, and it gives it an extra texture-y, you know, crinkly, wonderful effect. And that's because I spritz it with water, and then I just press down. And then I turn it over, spritz it with water, and press down. And this is the result. Here again, I want you to be able to see versus this. This is still very nice. Nothing wrong with that. But if you, this is just to show you that you can have added texture, and it just makes it even a little more crinkly. And so that's what I like to use. So I will take the time periodically, and I will press a stack of these to be able to use. All right? So now let me show you what I do when I am in the process of creating some of the pages for my journals. Let's see. Let's just bring this down, and we'll sort of set that aside, and we will thumb through here. Now these are just folded papers like I mentioned to you, so I want to show you this page and how you can do this page. Because this is a retro kitchen recipe journal, I wanted to put some recipe pages in there from a cookbook. So I have this from Joy of Cooking, trying to see if I've got a year on this. I'm not sure how old it is. It's not super, you know, it's not like 1800s or anything like that. I'd say it's probably in that retro period, 1950s, 60s, somewhere in there. But because these pages are very close to the size that I need, and I like the way this prints, this is what I am using on my inside pages. So here is an example of an inside page that I put in, and I'll show you how I do that. Okay, so the height is 7 1/2 inches. So before I even put this page in, I will take off little bit on the bottom. Because I can't fit the whole recipe written. It won't fit, you know, in the bag. And so I take a little bit off the bottom, and then I slip this in, okay? And I do it with the gussets. You see the flaps, the flap part? I slide it in the very top part of that, okay? And then I line it up so that it's very close to the one size. And you will notice on your sandwich bags, they're not perfect. And so sometimes the bottom is a little bit at an angle, or the sides may be off a little bit. So I just kind of trim that up as I'm going along. So I want the 7.5 inches, and we are going to, this is 6 inches wide, and then here's 1.5 inches. So this is how I do this. And I will line up a side because I know these have a tendency to be a little off on the bottom. So I want to line it up on the side and make sure that is straight. Okay. Can you see that? Let me see if you can see where my lines go. See how much this one is off? Okay. Whoops, sorry. So I will trim this off. Okay. And then I will flip it around, and I will do my 1.5 inches on the opposite side again, and I will trim off. So now I know it's 7.5 inches, and that's been squared up. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I've used a lot of my art glitter glue, and I just refilled this. So we're good to go here. So I'm just going to put a thin little bead, just a little bit. This has been clogging on me. I'm thinking that somewhere down here, whoops, that came out a little bit too much. I have a little something going on there. Okay, so I'm going to do that at the bottom and the top. Okay. Now, what I want to do, let's put the pin in, put the lime in the coconut. All right. Now I'm going to get my handy dandy bone folder tool. I'm going to reach in where my gusset is, and I'm going to bring that out. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same on the opposite side. And bring that out. Okay. And then what I'm going to do real quick while you're still here, you know, just chat amongst yourselves for just a sec. I'm going to press that over at where my iron is. All right, here I come. And now I'm going to turn it over, and I want to make this close so you can see this part. And I don't need this now. So I'm going to carefully just clear this excess off. I'm trying to create, you know, this page to be as Occasionally, I will have a little bit. There's a little fruit fly that just landed on my hand. That's weird. Okay. Oh, come on. I know, some of you are like, oh, get over it, Rhonda. It's fine. And you're right. I'm very picky about some things that other people think are very weird. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run just a little bit of glue down this side on the opposite. And we'll see here at the top, we'll do the same, just a little bit, doesn't need a lot. Now what I do a lot of times will be to stitch around my pages, but I don't always. Now what I'm going to do, where the bag comes together, let me show you here. See, that part is not glued, it comes that way. But I like to tack that down, so I'm also going to run a little bead of glue right there. Okay, now I'm going to cut it to the size that I want for my page. And I want 6 1/4 inches is what I've got going, so I'm just going to line this up and we will trim this off, and you can open it up and you've got paper for another project if you wish. We'll flip it around here and we will line this up. I'll get a 1/4 inch on this side, and that will give me, and there's the other piece, the other side. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is tack the sides down. Just a little bead. Just a little bead. And then we'll flip it over and we'll do the same thing on the opposite side. Okay, so that is one way to give yourself a page. Okay, so I would do 2 of those, just like this. Let's see, do I have another one already finished so we can just continue on and show you the next step? I do. Okay, so now I want to put those 2 pages together. And I am doing it with fabric strips. These measure 1 1/4 inches wide by 7 1/2. That's actually a teeny bit more than 7 1/2 long, because I would rather have it long and trim it than short and have it look weird. So then what I'm going to do, my other pages, and this is something that you just kind of have to figure out on your own. How wide do you want your journal? How big do you want your pages? If I wanted to, I could even do this. I could butt it up close together, and I could do this with fabric. I could do this with paper if I wanted. I could actually come in here with these extra strips, and I could lay it down and I could glue that and then flip it over and put the other side on if I wanted to do that. That's an idea for you. But I like the look, I like the feel. I love to use the mixed media in my art, and so for this particular one, I want to do it with fabric. So I'm going to do a bead down both sides of my pages, but I'm going to do it one at a time. Okay. Let me put that so you can see that. And I'm just kind of eyeballing this to get an idea of where I want to put it. Turning it over and trying to see that I do it. Let me hold it up to the light here. I think that's pretty good. Okay. Now to do the other side, I'm going to go ahead, turn this over, flipping it, and making sure that my writing is going the same direction. Sometimes when you get going, you can have a tendency to make a mistake there. So then I will bring this in and line that up. Okay. And I can adjust this a little bit. It's just about, so I have just about probably 1/4 of an inch in between. And this actually ends up to be about 12 3/4 inches wide. But of course, that will vary because when you put a signature together with different papers in, then you can trim it down. Some will be wider than others to get it to fit because of the bulk and whatnot. Okay, now I'm going to do the other side and back it with my fabric and my glue. And when this dries, this is a very good glue. You can also use fabric tack or, any good glue. Come on, get in there. Okay. So now I want to line this up as close as I can to the other one that I did. Okay? All right. Now I'm going to trim this off. Get a little straight edge here. And we will trim that. And I will go to my sewing machine and I'll stitch just about 1/8 of an inch down on both sides, and that will give me a page that looks like this. Now, this was the first one that I did this way, and so this has 2 layers of fabric, but I put it in between. I left the gussets there and put it in there, and then when I got done, and I had stitched it and everything, I looked at it and I thought, I think I would have liked it better had I done the fabric on the outside of both. And so in the others, that's what I did. Let me see if I can find, where are my pages to show you how neat it looks when you do it the other way. Well, okay, I haven't stitched this yet, so anyway, I just like the look of this better. And so that's why I'm showing that to you rather than, my first attempt. That's, if you really knew all the prototype things that happen before I feel like I have a finished product to show you, you might be surprised. I don't know, maybe not. So then I'll just fold this over, and I will, with my bone folder, I'll crease that nicely. And I'll turn it over and I'll crease it nicely again. One of the things I like about putting fabric strips and stitching them down here is it gives a tremendous amount of sturdiness to my journal. And it actually is less bulky in the center where I don't have it on top of the pages. And so it'll make it so they'll stitch tighter together and won't be so, at least, well, a little bit. So then it's just a matter of adding, just just adding your papers. Putting in, like I've been doing for this, I've thought, well, let's do a couple of these, and then we'll do a couple of these. And so I want to include a few of these. These can be written on. You can very easily, not every pen, I mean, you know, a ballpoint pen would work fine. An ink pen, probably not, because of the porousness of the sack. But anything that you could write with a regular, you know, on regular paper would be fine. I wouldn't do a fountain pen unless you want it to spread. So, those pages, let's see, what else did I do? I wanted to show you one more. Yes, okay. And I also decided that I wanted to do some of my pages. This is pretty nice weight. And so I took some of the pages and I put them together in exactly the same way that I showed you with the sacks and the paper in between. Another thing that you could do with this, you guys, is I could just take these sacks and I could put those together just as is. I don't have to have single pages like I showed you in the, was it the first or second video? You know, where I've taken these pages apart and used one with the sturdiness and whatnot with these. So there are different ways that you can work up your journal. So that's what I wanted to focus on for this video, is just to show you how you can use your bags. Now, if you have glassine bags, I also have some nice large glassine bags that can work with this kind of a thing. Let me see if I've got any that are like handy here. And actually, these are a little bit larger. And I do have these in my store. And I just received an order recently. I've got several different sizes. I just haven't had a chance to put them on. So this could be a lot of fun too. You know, and you could do your, according to the size of your bags. There again, do you see what I'm seeing right here? There's a teeny bit. They're just not 100% perfect the way they are mass produced. This is just a teeny bit off, not too bad. And if you know, if that doesn't bother you, people will probably never notice. It's just for those weirdo monk type people. I'm not like him in everything. Now these don't have a gusset though. So you just work with it as it is. I might have to do this because this is pretty darn cool. Now this, the glassine, you wouldn't write on this with a ballpoint pen. You would write on this with a fountain pen. The ink would go beautifully on something like this. And you could put lined paper in between. You can put decorative paper in between. You can do, you know, whatever it is that you would like to do. So that's another option for you. All right, guys. I think for this video number 3, that we'll call this good. Gather your supplies, you know, get your papers tea dyed, coffee dyed, get a bunch folded, ready to go, ready to decorate. And we've got the side snips, and we've got clusters, and we've got journal cards that we've already created, so it'll make the embellishing a little bit easier. And I will show you in my next video, I'm going to show you a page. We're going to work up one side, one page of a 4-page spread. And then I think we'll just probably put it together and show you just kind of a finished product. So if you are not a subscriber, I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel and click the little button, the little bell there by the subscribe so that you don't miss any of my videos. I get on here as often as I can. I have a lot going on, but I really enjoy visiting with you. I love what I do. I feel very blessed, and I like to share. I like to share the things that I feel inspired to do so you can create. And for those of you that are not into the creating as much, but you know, occasionally I put things in my Etsy store, but mostly I just want to show and share with you what I do. That's fun for me, is to show you some cool, fun ideas, and hopefully that you'll enjoy them and learn a lot and just have fun chatting and, you know, just chatting with friends. All right, until next video, have a fabulous day. Bye-bye now.